Geek to me radio, da 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 da. Geek to me radio, da 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 da. Welcome, geeks and nerds, girls and boys, to a brand new edition of Geek to Me Radio. Tonight we've got director Donna Northcott and lyricist Jaysen Cryer talking about the brand new Jurassic Park The Musical and how you can get tickets if you're in the greater St. Louis area. Later on, we'll be talking with American Horror Story actress Naomi Grossman about a new movie she's got out called Bite Me, a vampiric rom-com. All that and more. Stand by. Comics and movies and video games. And if you don't know Star Trek and Star Wars, we'll try to explain. There are 12 doctors for Hogwarts houses, one ring rules them all. To be the greatest Pokemon master, you must catch them all. You must catch them all. Try to catch them all. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all. And if you're driving around the greater St. Louis area tonight listening to us on the Big 550 KTRS, hello and welcome to you. If you're streaming us out there on the web, on the KTRS app or something like that, thank you very much for tuning in. And, of course, if you're listening to us after the fact in the podcast form, wherever you get your podcast, whatever platform that is, we appreciate your listening there as well. Bit of business before we start the show. Last week, we got so backed up that I did not get to do our toy giveaway. As you know, we partnered with Kokomo Toys in Kokomo, Indiana. So we've got a really nice prize pack. It's a Legends of Cthulhu figure, a Marvel Legends figure, one of the Eternals Icarus. We've also got an Amazon Warrior figure, and, of course, those Super 7 set of posable hands for your Super 7 action figures. That prize pack will be yours. All you have to do is be the first person to text in on the KTRS text lines, 84126. What actor played Cersei in the new Eternals movie? You text in with that, 84126. What actor played Cersei in the Marvel Cinematic Universe Eternals film? And we'll get your information. We will send you that prize pack courtesy of Kokomo Toys. We'll be doing another giveaway later in the hour, so please stand by. Without further ado, my first two guests are live in studio with me. We have Donna Northcott, the director of the upcoming Jurassic Park The Musical, and Jaysen Cryer, the lyricist who provides all the cool words that I'm still having trouble learning. Thank you both for coming out to the Westport Plaza tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Great to have you. So we'll start with Donna, because this is all your baby, Magic Smoking Monkey. That's it's everyone likes to come out to these because it's a comedic send-up of these great shows and movies that we love. Talk a little bit about the genesis of the idea for this, where this the idea for doing these kind of shows came from.
Oh, well, I was saying to Jaysen on the way out here, the first production we did was in 2005, which seems absurdly far in the past right now. But I used to live in Chicago and would go see productions at Annoyance Theater, which originated things like the Real Live Brady Bunch, and thought those were hilarious, and that St. Louis had nothing like that, and thought, well, we could do something like that. And we started with Ed Wood's film Glen or Glenda, and did it in glorious black and white, and it was a big success, and now it's, 17 years later.
And it's part of St. Louis Shakespeare, and you are the founding artistic director of St. Louis Shakespeare.
Yes.
So how long into St. Louis Shakespeare's production did you guys decide to add this bonus show, as it were?
Oh, St. Louis Shakespeare started in 1984, I believe. So
wow,
a bit later. Yeah.
And if we were talking because we went out to McGurk's Friday night, and you've done every St. Louis Shakespeare play, which I think you're one of only like 5 companies in the country to have done it.
I think we're one of 7 in the United States to have done all of Shakespeare's plays. And we also tried to one-up everyone else by doing Cardenio, which we know that Shakespeare wrote a script called Cardenio, but there is no script still existing, but there's a recreation. We did that, and we did Edward III, which is an apocryphal play. So, we tried to get some extra points there.
So it seems such a incongruous thing, I should say, with the Shakespeare where you're doing Julius Caesar and then you're doing Star Trek episodes for Magic Smoking Monkey. But it's kind of nice to have that little break of, I suppose, doing a huge, lavish, deep acting production versus then you get to do this really fun show that like Jurassic Park the Musical.
Yes, Jurassic Park is really sort of a palate cleanser between Shakespeare's. Just, we do our hoity-toity Shakespeare plays and then get to do something that is just ridiculous and silly and mindless.
And then, Jaysen, I know you've talked about the idea of doing the Jurassic Park musical for a while.
Yes.
And now that obviously kind of COVID's winding down, hopefully, was this just you've had the time this whole 2.5 years to prepare and now that we're ready to launch?
You would think. Seeing as I did have the idea before the pandemic came along, and I think initially the idea was, I want to say it was going to be 2020, and then I found out about the new movie coming out, and it was supposed to come out in 2021, so I said to Donna, let's push back Jurassic Park till 2021, because that's when the movie's coming out, and it makes sense to do that then. And also, I haven't written any songs yet, which I didn't tell her. I didn't tell her that at the time.
But I'm very gullible and trusting.
Yeah,
so.
And so I think I can't remember what we were going to work on, but then I was saved by the pandemic because I hadn't finished that script either. So
yeah, that took the pressure off.
That did take the pressure off a lot. But yeah, so then we were just kind of lucky that the idea and the upcoming movie are still kind of coinciding, which is nice because.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think the movie comes out in June, I think
so.
Right?
Yeah.
Jurassic World, the third in the Chris Pratt series, the trilogy.
Yes.
The non-musical ones.
Right.
The Pratt trilogy.
That sounds kind of weird, the Pratt trilogy. So writing words for this, obviously we've got original music and then there's some kind of, would you say borrowed? Is that?
Well, yeah. So I would say that the first idea I came up with kind of plays off the tune from the theme of Jurassic Park. So, yeah, borrow, but the lyrics are all
right.
Based on things from the movie. And, you could say borrowed. But, yeah, the tune for sure. But only for that one, really. And then we've got some other ideas. As the kind of ideas started to flow, there were some other ideas, and, we've kind of borrowed from some other musicals in places. But for the most part, I'd say we've got a couple of, truly original songs.
And I know you collaborated with someone for the music.
Yes.
Did you have an idea? Because I if someone gives me a tune, I can throw in words and kind of haphazardly do it, much to my wife's dismay as she constantly stop doing that. That's not the words. But did you kind of have an idea of the song, the way you wanted the song to go, or did he present you music? How does the music and lyrics kind of thing work from your standpoint?
So for two of the songs, for sure, I already knew, I came up with the idea and I had the song in my head and I recorded myself singing the songs and actually have two collaborators on the music front. And one of them actually figured out the chords, and I played a little demo of myself playing it on I'm great for radio. I'm miming a tiny guitar.
I can see it. For those driving down 270, if you look to your left, Jaysen has his guitar thing.
It's a tiny guitar. We got our kids these tiny Luke guitars for Christmas, and they're great for just messing around on. And so, I figured out the chords, and I played this little song to him. And I said, "Now make this sound good," and he did. And then he did one of the songs. That's Dave Stevenson, who's part of Electro Dinosaur, and you can look at their music on Spotify. You can listen to the music, and there's stuff on YouTube. Little plug there.
Yeah.
For Dave.
Appropriate name for this
project, too. Well, he was one of the first people I talked to when I came up with this idea, and Donna kind of greenlit it. I was like, "Do you want to help me make this?" And then, everything happened, and then, he did in the end. And then the other guy is actually a friend of my wife's, and he is a professional musician who's done music for podcasts. I don't know if he still does music for it, but the podcast was the Harry Potter and the Sacred Texts, I think. That I believe is still going. I could be wrong there. I should have done some research before.
It's the spontaneity of radio. That's
yeah.
fine.
But yeah, he's an extremely talented musician, and he had heard about it, and he said, "Yeah, I'll help." So he was another one where this time I didn't have a clue of how to do music for it, and I just sang it into my phone and said, like, I want it to kind of sound like a march, and like boom, 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 do something with it. And what he sent back to me it blew my mind. So then there was a couple more songs where we more closely collaborated. So I had ideas of lyrics, but no idea of tune. And I kind of told him what I thought and sang him what I had. And then he produced this amazing piece of song that you are going to sing, I believe.
Oh, that's mine. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Were there songs, I'm wondering, like, did any of the lyrics in your mind have to change to fit a certain, like, okay, that music is, that I love that, I'm going to have to change some of the lyrics around, or are you still basically in your original 100% lyrics?
The first song that I came up with had just a chorus, and I wrote a whole, when I finally figured out how I wanted it to go and wrote the whole song, and then this is the one I sent to Dave. I was never happy with some of the lyrics, and especially when I heard him sing it, because he didn't know how I wanted it to be sung. He had just seen the lyrics and knew the chords, and had heard me sing the chorus. So I was like, oh, it definitely doesn't work. Now I hear someone else singing it, because I was like, yeah, now I can hear it. It doesn't work. And I actually completely rewrote the entire song apart from the chorus. And it was good. It worked out for the better.
Which one was that?
So that's Life Finds a Way.
Oh.
Which is obviously anyone who knows the movie. And again, that's the great thing is you don't need to have seen the movie to get the gist of any of the stuff that Magic Smoky Monkey's done, really. You kind of quickly pick up on what it is from either just the cultural beats that kind of are hit in the show and everything like that.
And if you're not inclined to go see a Jurassic Park movie, this way you can check it off your bucket list, but you're only wasting an hour.
That's right. Yeah, you're not blowing the whole, almost 2 hours for the original movie? Or you have to watch the trilogy, actually, the original 3, because you have to see what happens to Ian Malcolm and all the other characters as you go through.
Yeah.
It's always fun to do the way you've described when you first started doing Monkey, and you kind of described it to me, and I love the description. You said, picture it if you're a bunch of teenagers and you're doing the best production you can in your parents' garage
for $50,
right? Which I love that description
of the 10 Commandments.
It so aptly describes, because everyone who comes has a great time. They kind of there's a following, like you'll see regular people in the audience all the time, because you've gotten this reputation for this really fun, zany kind of thinking outside the box type of show.
Well, and the big thing that I try to stick with on all the productions is that it's not just about a bunch of actors getting out there and yucking it up and falling down. And it's the actors are playing. So you, James Enstall, are playing an actor who is playing the role of Dennis Nedry in the movie and trying to do your very best at that. Only it doesn't work out that well. So that's the idea behind it. We try to approach it legitimately, only throwing obstacles in the character's way. And, for example, someone is playing an actor who is completely incompetent, but they don't know that.
Right.
And they're trying very hard.
And you get, there's actors, you get some of the mix of the Shakespeare people who've done Shakespeare productions for you. And then you get like some of the Lindenwood students, because you're a professor there.
Right.
And then you get, people who don't know what they're doing, like me, who come in. So it's kind of this, it's a nice mix of people you have too.
Yeah, it is. And that's always nice, because we get, you're bringing in all these new ideas and new approaches. And what was lucky for this one is we actually happened to get a cast who can sing and who can sing well. Gosh. I thought, okay, I'm just going to have to grit my teeth through the musical numbers, but no, they're good.
Yeah, I've never heard Jordan sing before, and I was like, Bill Blanky and I looked at each other, and we're like, whoa.
Yeah, and Mac.
Yeah, Mac's great too, absolutely. Yeah, I was very impressed, because you've never done it. This is your first musical you've directed.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So first time out, having some great singers, that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I should quit while I'm ahead.
Well, there's always that possibility. This may be when you go out on a high note. That's what they say. For those of you listening, again, we're talking with the director, Donna Northcott, and the lyricist, Jaysen Cryer. Jurassic Park The Musical. You can get tickets. The show goes up April 29th through May 7th. It's at the Ream Theater, which used to be where Stages performed, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
111 South Geyer Road in Kirkwood. Tickets are available either through the STLShakespeare.org website or brownpapertickets.com. We're going to take a very quick commercial break. We are going to come right back, and we are going to chat more with these two. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS. Please stand by.
This is John Glenn, and you're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
We are back. Make sure we tell you about our official movie sponsor, Marcus Theaters. MarcusTheaters.com is the website. If you go to the website, you can find the location of the Marcus Theaters or the Movie Tavern location closest to you. Get your tickets right there online as well. Some great movies are out right now. If you're a comic book fan, this is a great time to see movies. You got The Batman that's out. There's Morbius from Sony and Marvel. A lot of great movies, and I'm so glad they're back. That's one of the things I've missed most during the pandemic is going and sitting in a theater with a bunch of other people, watching a movie, laughing, cheering, eating the huge bucket of popcorn. And if you go to Marcus Theaters' website, you can join their Magical Movie Rewards program. You'll get a little card, and you will actually start earning points towards future purchases. So every time you buy a movie, every time you get popcorn or snow caps or gummy bears, you get points towards buying more movie tickets or snow caps or gummy bears. And, of course, if you are celebrating something, we're coming up on graduation season here. If you've got a graduation, a birthday, something like that, you can rent a private theater from Marcus, and you just go to the website and you can click the little tab there. They usually start around $99, but you can do all the different add-ons where you and 20 of your closest friends can go sit in a private movie theater and enjoy a movie all to yourself. There's always something fun to see at the movies, and I'm very glad the movies are back. If you want to see it in the best possible surroundings with the super DXL screens, the big heated reclining seats, start with the website MarcusTheaters.com. Marcus Theaters for the best movie-going experience in the galaxy. We are chatting with Donna Northcott, Jaysen Cryer, talking about Jurassic Park the Musical. I'm very excited because this play features St. Louis actor Bill Blanky is also in this particular production, which is very exciting. I'm sure a lot of our listeners right now are excited to come see him playing Muldoon, the clever girl hunter. But I love, and again, I'm not spoiling anything, but there's all these little very funny bits where it takes the clever girl thing is one of my favorite little things you've thrown in. So when you're coming up with the gimmicks and the bits for all this, is it something like you watch the movie once and you just kind of make little notes, or as you're watching the production, as you start watching the rehearsals, you're like, oh, hold on, is it kind of evolve as it goes?
Actually, yes to both of those.
Okay.
I'll watch the movie and be taking notes as I go along, and then transcribe it, and then there's a long process of going through and cutting it down to take this 2-hour movie down to an hour, including songs.
Right.
And sometimes while I was working for a few months, just paring down the script, different ideas were coming up, like, oh, that might happen there. But then, again, once you get in rehearsal and just something about the way an actor is playing a scene sparks another idea. So it's constantly evolving. We're still adding new things in, and we're only, 2 weeks from opening?
Yeah.
It's coming up quick.
Yeah.
And we should mention, too, there are 2 shows a night, so it's 8:30 and 10:30?
The first weekend, there's just one show a night at 8
okay.
o'clock, and the second weekend on Friday and Saturday night, there's an 8 o'clock and a 10:30. The 10:30 gets a little looser, so there might be
PG-13-ish?
right.
Okay.
The 8 o'clock shows, the early shows are family friendly, so if you have kids who like Jurassic Park, there's not going to be anything that's going to shock them.
Offend their delicate senses.
Yes.
And feel free to come in costume, too. Bring your dinosaur costume or a dinosaur shirt. That'd be fun.
And also, there is we award a door prize to one lucky audience member at every show.
That's right.
So it's a pretty fabulous door prize.
It is. It always is. It's always fun. And what were some of the, I don't want to say troubles is the right word, what were some of the challenges, I guess, when you're writing song lyrics for a dinosaur musical? What were some of the...
Sometimes you can just get an idea stuck in your head, and I think it's okay for me to talk about this idea because it's not in the show. But for whatever reason, the first song, my idea was to have a whole kind of ironic song where so it's to do with the paleontologists. At the beginning, they have the computer, and there's this talk about, what's the future going to hold? When if we can do this with computers, what's our jobs going to be like? So my initial thought for that whole song was, what other things were inconceivable in the 90s and I started thinking of things, but it turned out all I could think of was things that computers have done. Everything was a computer, and I was like, and I couldn't find anything funny enough without kind of getting too either political and with everything we've been through in the last couple of years, the last thing people want to come and see is political jokes. And then suddenly it occurred to me, why not just make it about what it's like to be a paleontologist? And that's where I went. So it was there was months of struggle where I had one verse, and then I like to think the Beatles Get Back, watching that many hours of documentary, made me realize, hey, it's okay for me to just make up some stuff and not worry about it, and then see where it takes me. And lo and behold, I got 3 verses out of it, which is all you need.
And I will say that's one of the first musicals numbers you'll hear in the show, and it's an earworm that gets stuck in your head very quickly. we were talking about that. Some of the actors are pulled back, and we're like, man, as soon as I leave here tonight, that's going to be in my head all the way home.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, yes. But yeah, if you're interested in this at all, you really should get tickets. You can get them at the door. I don't want to say you need to get tickets on the website. They will be available at the door as well. But the show starts April 29th, and to my surprise, we should announce too, there's a Sunday matinee on this one, where normally monkey shows don't have Sunday matinees. So it's Sunday, May 1st, if I'm not mistaken. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I had to mentally picture a calendar in my
head.
That's
what I was kind of looking at.
Took a moment.
I think May 1st. So yeah, you can come out on a Sunday. It's obviously a lot of fun to see these. I personally am a fan of the 10:30 showings. They're usually a little bit more loose, and it's kind of, it's one of those things where one of these shows, when you see them, you can see the actors are having fun regardless, and that always translates to the audience as we're having fun too. I think that's one of the big things.
Even all the time I've spent with this show, I find myself still surprised at the 10:30 shows about the things that are happening on stage.
Because you just never know. Sometimes they save the good stuff for the actual performances.
This is true.
Itself.
I always used to purposely wait and go and see the very last 10:30 show. Because that's usually when all the gloves come off.
And this time there'll be 3-fingered reptilian gloves in this particular show. So, I mean, we're actually going to see the Stegosaurus. We were just talking about that.
Yes, and a Dilophosaurus.
Yes.
And 3 raptors.
Mm-hmm.
And a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
So if you're a dinosaur fan, this is great. And again, this will be something the kids will love to see. Maybe not the 10:30 shows, but so if you've got little ones, bring them out to this too, because this will be, like I said, it'll be a great thing to do just leading up to the new Jurassic World movie that's going to be out too. So it's perfectly timed. And if you're not familiar, the theater space in Kirkwood there is really a nice theater space. It's
very nice, and it's right in Kirkwood Park, and there is ample free parking right adjacent to the theater. So it's very comfortable. And it's a nice, when I've gone there as an audience member, it's a nice rake where you're not staring at the back of someone's head.
Yeah.
It's very comfortable.
Yeah, so there's not a bad seat in the house, really.
There really is.
It's a great theater space. And I know previously, Jaysen, you've done on stage with the monkey shows.
Yes.
You've done performing. Are you now feeling like lyricist and producer and everything like that is where you kind of like to be now, or you kind of miss?
So, I've written 3 of them, script wise.
You did,
I think,
Harry Potter and Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and co-written one too.
Yep.
So yeah, and this is the first time I've done this is the first time I've written songs for a musical ever. So it's also my first musical. Although you actually performed the first song I wrote for a monkey show.
Did I?
Yeah, in the second Game of Thrones.
Oh, that's right. That's right. The
Blackwater.
Blackwater. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
The Blackwater bed.
That I think that was what was kind of like, ooh, I enjoyed doing that. We should do a musical. And so that might have been the seed.
Was birthed.
And then I saw you perform it, and I was like, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe
Can we get someone else to do this? Maybe.
No. But I've been. I can't remember how many I was in before I stopped being in them, and I stopped being in them mainly because I have kids. And
Sure.
so, like, just thinking about starting something at 10:30 seems awfully late.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm sure eventually
The right project will present itself.
Yeah. I mean, I really kind of wanted to do this, but it's just too much too soon.
I get it. I understand.
Too much.
Well,
And for those of you listening, once again, I want to make sure you check out the website, which is stlshakespeare.org. And that is April 29th through May 7th at the Robert G. Is it Reim?
Rhyme.
R-E-I-M.
Yes.
Rhyme Theater in Kirkwood on Geyer Road. You can get the tickets right through the St. Louis Shakespeare website and also, obviously, through brownpapertickets.org. Donna Northcott, Jaysen Cryer, thank you so much for being part of the show tonight. I appreciate your coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And we'll make sure that we put a link to the show notes, or in the show notes, to where you can get the tickets from. We're going to take another quick commercial break. We're going to come right back and hear from actor Naomi Grossman about her movie Bite Me, a vampiric rom-com, which you can catch in digital and on demand right after this. Please stand by.
Hi, this is Gates McFadden. Now, don't tell my space son, but I always listen to Geek to Me Radio. Do it.
We are back. This segment brought to you by Bugs Comics, our official comic book sponsor here. Bugs Comics and Games on Bryan Road in O'Fallon. If you would, go check out their Facebook page. Just go to facebook.com, check out Bugs Comics and Games there. Give the Facebook page a like. And make sure you check out their store. If you're wanting to save money on your hobby, if you are, obviously gas prices are going up, food prices going up, it's great to get discounts where you can. And Larry has the Avengers Club where you can join. You'll start saving money on your new issues, your back issues, your supplies, your games, your figures, all that kind of stuff. Just pick your character. They give you a little card, and you start saving money. If you're listening to this and you're outside the greater St. Louis, St. Charles area, go online to the website, bugscomicsandgames.com. They've got a great selection of back issues. You can check those out there, and they'll ship them right to you. You can even join the Avengers Club if you're not in the greater St. Louis, St. Charles area, and you get that discount as well. It's great to have the local comic book store. I know people go online for their stuff or they get them digital. It's not the same thing. Make sure you buy local if you can. Always support small businesses. And a great one to support is Bugs Comics and Games. Larry and Tim do a great job of running the place. It's so cool to have the store back. And I think you will have a great time checking out all the cool things there are to see inside the store. BugsComicsandGames.com. Once again, is the website. Give the Facebook page a like. Bugs Comics and Games on Facebook. I want to make sure we tell you very quickly, we've got some online shows coming up. In addition to the Sunday Night Live show that you're listening to right now, I've got too much content, so we're going to start pushing stuff out online. So make sure you are following me on Instagram and Twitter at Geek to Me Radio, Facebook.com/Geek to Me Radio, and you can also follow us on Twitch.tv and YouTube. So normally we do the live video. Joey's off today. You can see those, but that's a good way to keep up. You'll get the show notifications. Coming up later this week, we've got New York Times bestselling author Brad Meltzer, and you heard his voice earlier, the only person to direct 5 James Bond movies, John Glenn, will be talking about his work on A View to a Kill, on The Living Daylights, on Octopussy, and all those great films, so you don't want to miss that also. So make sure you check us out. Follow us on all the social medias, and you'll be notified when a new episode drops. With all that said, I've got this next guest. She's been on American Horror Story. You'll recognize her as Pepper from Asylum, which is still my favorite season of American Horror Story. She's also showed up in the subsequent season of Freak Show. Naomi Grossman has a new movie out, and she's going to tell you all about that right now. Actor Naomi Grossman about a brand new film that she's in called Bite Me. You can catch it on digital download February the 8th. Naomi, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for the time. You were one of those people, I got to say, American Horror Story Asylum was by far my favorite season of American Horror Story, and you figured quite prominently in that. Before we get into Bite Me a little bit, talk about getting that part. I'm curious about how the audition process for a part like that went for you. Obviously, you played Pepper in that. Talk a little bit about the audition process, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. They did not let on as to what that role was. It's a big secret. Even till it was only until after I was cast that they kind of let the cat out of the bag. Basically, the breakdown, that is what kind of goes out to all agents and managers. And And some actors in Hollywood said they were seeking a 4 to 5 feet tall, possibly malformed, childlike actor. So that's really all I had to work with. There was no talk of microcephaly or anything Pepper-like. I had no idea what they wanted. They had me come in with a monologue of Jessica Lange's from season 1. And they also had me do a little improv. They gave me a ball and they said, pretend you're like 4 years old and you're trying to get us to play with you. And of course, I had no idea how any of that would translate. But of course, now having watched the show, we get it. Like they wanted to see that I had, range, that I could go from that, early, playful Pepper to the later, alien abducted Pepper.
Yeah. Yeah, what a great, as an actor, that had to be such an ideal role to really, like you said, show your range, but just to play this gamut of character development and everything like that had to be an amazing role to take.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, especially just the liberty that they gave me. I had one bit of direction the entire 2 years that I played her, and that was do Schlitzie. So, I knew so long as I was honoring the muse, the real life microcephalic after whom this role was modeled, then I was doing my job. So, that's every actor's dream. No actor wants to be given, line readings and micromanaged and told exactly how to do something. But they really, like, in literally 3 syllables, 2 words, told me everything and yet let me do everything, It's really beautiful.
That's great. And I got to say, you're a writer as well. I loved on your resume, you wrote and then you starred. You got to be Kim Cattrall and you got to be Madonna. And you wrote these parts. Those 2 people, are they just like people you look up to as far as performers? Talk a little bit about Sex and the Sitter and Madonna's Hung Up spoof for just a moment, if you could.
Yes, of course. No, those were born out of my time at the Groundlings, which is a comedy theater in Los Angeles. It's sort of a breeding ground for, SNL actors. And so, actually, for that matter, those 2 women were not at the Groundlings. Those 2 characters were not at the Groundlings. But that's the kind of work I was doing there. And, when I was let go, which was very painful, and yet really that's what happens at the Groundlings. Basically it starts out, everybody who is ever funny in their high school ever is there. And then it's it's kind of like this pyramid scheme where, I shouldn't say scheme, but by the end, it's just a very small select group of people, of which I was one actually. And, but then ultimately, got the cut. And so when I did, I thought, well, gee whiz, this doesn't have to end just because I'm not on Melrose Avenue. It means it can live on YouTube. It can be, everywhere. So, they say one door closes, another opens, and that was very much the case. Again, I didn't see it that way at first, but it really opened me up to, so many other opportunities, like American Horror Story, like Bite Me. But yes, so those particular shorts, that was just at a time when I was kind of just cranking out sketches. And yeah, those 2 women in particular, I don't know. I was all about, just finding the funny, like whatever was my muse at the moment. And, I happen to be a Samantha if we're going to play the, Sex and the City game. I have not even watched the new one because, she's not in it. So I'm like, what's the point if there's no Samantha?
Right.
I don't know. Madonna just makes me laugh. I love her. Although she doesn't love me. She She got that taken off of YouTube.
Really?
And don't get me wrong. We don't know that it was her per se. Yeah. I don't know if she was threatened by my views. I mean, come on. It's Madonna. Like, calm down.
Yeah.
Share the love, lady.
You never know. But now you're in this great feature film, Bite Me, and it's a rom-com. It's got elements. I see elements of Buffy the Vampire Slayer in there. That kind of tongue-in-cheek, playing with the horror realm, which I always find such a fun topic to take on. So talk a little bit about your role in Bite Me.
Yeah, Chrissy is the firebrand leader of the vampire cult. And now this is not your average, sparkly, super powered vampire people who, feed on people in the night. These are actual real life vampires that apparently actually exist. In fact, Naomi McDougall-Jones, our fearless other Naomi, and the writer and star, apparently was on the set of Boardwalk Empire, met an actual, one of these folks that apparently derives her energy from blood, and was fascinated by her story, and went home and Googled it, fell down a little YouTube rabbit hole herself, and just thought, well, this is the makings of a great rom-com, a vampire meets the love of her life and the IRS agent that audits her. So, it's a fun, just fish out of water, kind of odd couple. Yeah. You love doesn't suck. Sometimes it bites you when you least expect it. So we haven't seen a lot of that genre, in a while.
Yeah,
it's been
I would
since,
agree.
Nora Ephron. And so I agree too that it's a fun kind of combination, because it's, for me, it's marrying some of the, even though it's not really horror at all, obviously we think vampires and, there's a horror element there. But also, of course, my, comedy background, at the Groundlings, et cetera. So, it was a fun role to play. And interestingly, not that far from myself, while I do not derive energy from blood myself, I am kind of that unapologetic, like, kind of badass bitch. Like, I'm, that's just who I am. And so I read this and I thought, yeah, okay, this isn't all that far from me. Like, this is a role where I'm going to be pretty naked up there, not just, wearing a effervescent dress and a swimsuit in Central Park at a Christian picnic, but rather, I'm showing my actual face, like, without prosthetics. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of playing myself, or as close to me as we've ever seen. Mm-hmm. So it was sort of uncharted territory for me, because that's not my go-to.
So did you find
I had a blast doing it?
That's what I was going to ask. So being as it's kind of like foraying into slightly uncharted territory for you thus far, did you find that to be a rewarding experience then overall? And we're going to come right back and get that answer to that question from Naomi Grossman. We'll get into some other things. We'll probably do another giveaway if we've got the time here, too. So make sure you stick around. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS.
Hello, geeks. Yakko Warner here. The only show we listen to in the water tower is Geek to Me Radio. And that's why we're listening to it right now. Good night, everybody.
Welcome back. Geek to Me Radio live here every Sunday on the Big 550 KTRS. We've got some great shows coming up. We've got shows booked all the way through May. And, of course, I mentioned earlier, we've got some online shows coming up as well. We are approaching our 300th show of Geek to Me Radio. We've got some great interviews coming up with director Martin Campbell, comic creator Roy Thomas. And I mentioned that coming up later this week, we'll have Brad Meltzer and director John Glenn. A great interview with Timothy Zahn, the guy who basically created the whole Thrawn trilogy and wrote all those great books for the Star Wars canon, for those of you who are familiar with that. So make sure you follow us on our social medias at Geek to Me Radio on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you find our YouTube page and subscribe there. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube before the end of this year. And also make sure you give us a follow on twitch.tv. Find Geek to Me Radio there. Normally Joey V sitting right across me, and we'll have video. You can actually see the studio, see the guests. So he'll be back with me next week. He does a great job making the show sound and look as good as it does. So huge thanks to Joey V, my executive producer. Also coming up next weekend is Planet Comic Con. Want to make sure you check that event out. It's right down Highway 70 in Kansas City. You can go hang out with the likes of Susan Eisenberg, the voice of Wonder Woman. Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, will be there. They'll have Matt Lantner and Ashley Eckstein from Star Wars Rebels, and a host of other great guests, wrestling stars like Sergeant Slaughter. A lot of great comic book creators will be there. John Romita Jr., Rick Burchett, who we've had on the show several times before from Batman, the animated series. A lot of the things he's done, like Blackhawks, phenomenal artist. So you can go and have fun at that event. That's at Bartle Hall in Kansas City. You go to planetcomiccon.com and check that out. We'll be there on Friday all day, so if you do find me and you're at Planet Comic Con, come up and say hello, and we've got some cool things to give away if you are able to find me there at Planet Comic Con. Speaking of giveaway, we've got no one's yet answered correctly in our first trivia question, sponsored by Kokomo Toys, our partner at Kokomo Toys in Kokomo, Indiana. If you know the actor who played Cersei in the Eternals movie, just text her name to 84126, and we'll give you a call back, and we'll get your information to get you that Kokomo Toys prize pack sent out to you. Before we took that last break, we were chatting with Naomi Grossman, and I'd asked about, with this movie, kind of playing herself somewhat, as she said, if that's something she'd never really done before. Did she find that to be a rewarding experience overall?
Oh, yeah. It was... So the set was so supportive. I have to say, like, every department head was actually headed by a woman, which makes for a really, kind of cool synergy among all the, and we're talking departments that are, not commonly headed by women, the producers, the writer, the director, the cinematographer, everybody. I mean, there were some, wonderful men that helped us along the way, obviously, but it was a very kind of nurturing, compassionate, supportive set. And, especially because, we did shoot it in New York. And so there were a lot of, theater actors, which is also really fun because they, like me, because I am also a theater person.
Sure.
They go for it. They act in the back row. And, I remember moments, shooting at, the Christian picnic, there in Central Park. And there were moments where I was, standing up on that pail, kind of just watching the chaos around me. And it's like they weren't even necessarily conscious of the fact that, like, the cameras weren't rolling. They were just acting. They were just, they were like just letting it rip. And it was a beautiful, beautiful thing. And that's like New York theater actors for you. They're if the audience, what do they say? If you can see the audience, they can see
Exactly.
you. And so they were just going for it.
And it's interesting, too, you mentioned about all the female department heads for this stuff, because obviously Naomi McDougall-Jones is very vocal about women in film and everything like that. So that's kind of refreshing to hear that she walks the walk and doesn't just talk about it. That's very cool.
Exactly. Yes.
And this is obviously their second feature film between Naomi McDougall-Jones and Meredith Edwards. The cast in this thing, too, when you've got, obviously we mentioned Naomi McDougall-Jones from Boardwalk Empire, and then you've also got Christian Coulson, you've got Annie Golden. It had to be a lot of fun getting to play. Are there anyone on the cast you had worked with before, or were these all new people to you?
They were all new people to me. But, I had been an Annie Golden fan from prior, obviously. I mean, Orange is the New Black is sort of like that show that got away.
Right.
Like, I needed to be in that jail, damn it. Like, God, those women that were so funny and so flawed and so, those are the kind of roles I want. Those, like, hot, ugly roles, And so, yeah, so I was sad that, she was Face, so she and Christy were basically on opposite ends of the spectrum. Like, we weren't going to, obviously have a lot of scenes together. Mm-hmm. But the interesting thing is she's talk about badass bitches. She's like, I want to say she's like in a punk rock band or something.
Really?
Like when she's not, when she wasn't Faith, she was wearing like black leather and, she was, which is interesting. You wouldn't think that.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is, like I said, their first feature film, this duo, Imagine I'm Beautiful, won 12 awards on the film festival circuit. When you're going into a production like this, you've got this great cast. You've worked on so many great projects. Did you feel like there was any additional pressure? Like, hey, is this going to be up for awards as well? Is my performance going to be more scrutinized? Or at this point in your career, is it just, you know what, this is just another gig. I'm going to do like I always have, give it my level best, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, you really can't think about that because that's not where your head can be. You know what I mean? Your head needs to be not your head. It needs to be Chrissy's head, or, you need to be totally focused on what Chrissy wants and seeing the world through Chrissy's eyes and not thinking about, Naomi at all, because that just doesn't even exist until it does. And even then, those are things that we have no control over. You know what I mean? That's up to the audience,
Right.
That's up to the filmmakers as to what film festivals they enter it in. That's up to the editor and how he cuts your part. You know what I mean? Like I really live by, I only worry about the things I can control.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing, I really can't. So
saves you a lot of stress, I would assume, living that way. That's good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I got to ask, if you, looking at your career now, all the roles you've had, everything you've done, if you could step back in time and go to a young Naomi Grossman just graduating from Northwestern University with her theater major in 1997, what would you tell her?
That's a great question. I would say, and this is very hard because Naomi Grossman in 1997, leaving Northwestern, was a hustler. And I still am, no matter. I was very anxious to fill up my IMDb page. I wanted to get this show on the road. Right. And, I was ready for my comes up and really came out to Hollywood, pretty naive, but presumptuous, thinking, well, I've got my degree from Northwestern. I'm, next thing, my sitcom, like, bring it on,
right.
And the fact is, it's not like that. And it took me a minute to figure that out, but I would tell myself to chillax. Like, I would say, be receptive to opportunities. Like, don't try not to, like, patience, try not to like muscle each of these opportunities, through, and just, do the work and then see where it goes. And again, that's totally against my nature. I'm not a sit back and watch the world turn type. But, it even happened to me last night. It's about to be my birthday.
Oh,
and
happy early birthday.
Thank you. I had a friend, have me over for birthday, and we made wishes on paper, and then we set them fire and la la la. It was a whole sort of ceremony. And she was kind of plugging me for like, what did you ask for? And of course, I'm not going to tell her because I want it to come true.
Right.
But she could tell that I'm working towards this thing that I'm really muscling through, and I just need that extra push. And if that means, writing on a piece of paper and lighting on fire, then I'll do it,
Uh-huh.
And so she kind of knew that that's what I did. And she was like, but that's not how these things work. Like, you kind of need to just like put it out there and then let it go. And I think that's what I would tell my little Naomi self. Like, just, do your work and then relax. Like, do some yoga, draw a bubble bath, and just like let it go.
See, letting it go doesn't sound like a very Samantha type thing to do, though, does it?
No, it's not a Samantha type thing. It's not a Chrissy type thing. It's not a Naomi type thing.
So that's where you've got to learn to get in that mindset then and kind of step away from the characters and just kind of, I guess that's probably going to be beneficial to you, I'm sure.
Yeah. I'm telling not only my 1997 self, but also my 2022 self. Like,
we need reminders.
Yeah. Just let it go.
And again, if you're listening, you can catch Naomi in Bite Me digital download on February the 8th. What else? Are you working on anything currently that you can talk about? Have you got any other projects coming up?
Well, it's interesting. It's like Bite Me coming up. And of course, we shot this pre-pandemic.
Right.
But the pandemic has changed everything. Things are just now going to digital that, they would have much sooner had it not been for this darn thing. But I would say, I did shoot a movie in the pandemic called Replica, starring Mickey Rourke, which I would imagine we'll be seeing relatively soon. But then again, we are still technically in COVID times,
sure.
And it is an indie movie. So, it's, who knows, there could be a million more variants before that actually comes out. I did write my own another one-woman show
nice.
Called American Horror Story, which I'm pretty excited about. That sort of took up my 2020. As much as I was really hoping to get that out last year was just the year that we, finally put on pants again. So that was just too ambitious for that year. But I've got 11 more months to make that happen, damn it, to muscle that through, or rather just trust and let it go.
Either, I think a little bit of both would probably be beneficial. You got to find that balance.
Exactly. Yes.
This has been absolutely delightful to talk to you. I was, like I said, just riveted by your performance in American Horror Story. That Asylum season was by far my favorite, and you were a large part of that with your range that you demonstrated. It's always great to talk to you and listen to people who are in the craft doing all the stuff they want to do. So great success to you going forward. And if people want to keep up with you online, give out your website, social media handles, things like that, so people can keep track of you and follow you.
Sure. I'm at naomigrossman.net. That's my website. But of course, I'm on all social media at Naomi W. Grossman.
And what does the W stand for, if I may ask?
The W is, the name is Wright. It's a family name.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, I think on TikTok there's no W, but I am verified. So as long as you look for that blue check mark, it's me.
Get the verified Naomi Grossman, except no substitutes.
That's right, except Naomi McDougall-Jones and Naomi, our makeup artist.
Right.
There weren't enough Naomis on the set, let me tell you.
Did they number you, or they just call you Naomi G, Naomi MJ for McDougall-Jones? How did they?
Yeah, we were Naomi G, Naomi MJ.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, numbers weren't going to work because I was clearly Naomi number 2, and I don't like that.
No. Again, that's not a Samantha thing. We can't accept number 2.
That's right.
That is brilliant. Again, thank you so much for your time. It's an absolute pleasure. I'm finally glad I got the chance to speak with you. I've been a fan, and so this has been great for me.
Oh, appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No problem. Talk to you very soon. Have a good rest of your week. There she goes. Thanks again to all my guests tonight, Donna Northcott and Jaysen Cryer. Make sure you check out Jurassic Park The Musical. Thank you to Naomi Grossman. Make sure you check out Bite Me on digital and on demand. Thank you to my sponsors. Make sure you check out the City of St. Charles, the Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau at discoverstcharles.com, the premier sponsor of our show. Make sure you check out the website, plan your trip, get out there. Now that the weather's getting nicer, and go have some fun in St. Charles. Have some food, have some drink, have a good time. Until next week, my friends.
Hey kids, are your parents about to buy you a shiny new toy from Amazon?
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Well, don't be selfish. Share some of that money with us. Before going on Amazon, make sure to type in bit.ly/geek2me in the web browser. It will look just like Amazon.com, except it'll say referral Geek to Me Radio up top. And then when you check out, a tiny percentage will go to support the show without costing you 1 cent more. So before your parents get you that gizmo, gadget, or widget, make sure they type in bit.ly/geek2me in the web browser.
Bit.ly/geek2me. Bit.ly/geek2me.